Hello, everyone. Welcome to Love, Laughs, and Lessons. And this is our Matchmaker series. And today we have another amazing matchmaker guest who we're excited to introduce you to. But before we jump into that introduction, I'm also here with Denise, my co-host, who will introduce herself. But for those of you who don't know me, I am Dr. Frankie Bashan, clinical psychologist, board certified sex therapist, and CEO of Little Gay Book Matchmaking and Little Black Book Matchmaking. And we're here to talk all about matchmaking. Go ahead, Denise.
Yeah, super excited to be here with you all. I'm Denise Rai, and I am Client Service Director for a Little Gay Book, Little Black Book, and one of the matchmakers working with Dr. Frankie and her amazing team. And today we have a special guest, Cat Cantrill, founder. She's not the finder, she's the founder. She founded
And she's
her.
a finder.
And she's a
Finds
founder,
your
right?
one.
That's right. So she's a finder and the founder. And the CEO of the Heart Agency. I could already tell we're going to be wired today. Kat is a professional matchmaker, image consultant, and dating coach, known for her compassionate and empathetic approach to helping singles find love. With over a decade of experience, a long time, she's been featured in several media outlets for her expertise in matchmaking and relationship coaching. Her agency is based in Cedar Rapids, Iowa. She offers a unique service, including matchmaking, the dating coaching, the image consultation, workshops, mixers, and speed dating events. Kat's journey into matchmaking began after she ran a successful dance studio and then founded the Heart Agency to help single professionals find their forever match. So let's dive into this amazing world of modern matchmaking and discover how Kat helps singles navigate the complexities of love and relationship. Welcome, Kat, to Love, Laughs, and Lessons.
Oh my gosh, I'm so happy to be here. Thanks, Denise. I should have you write all my intros all the time. Just have you show up and introduce. So what a fantastic intro. Thank you so much. I'm so excited to be here, Dr. Frankie. So, yeah, I'm excited to start a conversation and talk about all things love and matchmaking and dating and relationships and all of it. Yeah.
So jump in, where would you want to start? I'm just going to hand it to you.
I think it's it's the holidays, right? So we're recording and it's like the holidays are around the corner. And I find that a lot of people at this time, it's almost as if, they talk about in matchmaking that the first 6 weeks of the new year is kind of like our Super Bowl time where everyone's like, oh, new year, new me. I'm ready to find somebody. It's like, I don't want to go through another holiday season alone. I'm ready to jump in and to figure out what am I doing wrong, or what is it that I need to do differently in order to find love? Do you find that that's something that you guys go through too?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Like, I love that you called it the Super Bowl, Super Love Bowl season, right? Everything,
Right.
it's like reflection, everything that we've done in the past that we no longer want to do. And this is like a chance to start anew, right? You get a restart. So yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And I think even with Valentine's Day, and even though we don't think Valentine's Day matters, I remember for myself when I was single, even though I used to be like, it's a Hallmark holiday when I was single, but I do remember it triggering and I worked corporate back then. So I remember sitting in corporate and all of the flowers coming in to all of the different cubicles.
You gotta feel that.
You can feel that. You can. And so it's a hard time for a lot of people. From the holidays through Valentine's Day. So yeah, I find that that's even around that time, it can be really difficult.
So what do you recommend for singles that are going through this single, the approach of the holidays and then New Year's resolution and right into Valentine? It's never ending though, because from Valentine's
it is
we go
never
into
ending.
spring, and then it's summer, and then it's
hot girl
Thanksgiving,
summer.
and then
That's right.
Here we go.
That's right. So I'll tell you something that I have always done in my life that I coach my clients on when it comes to New Year's, because it's easy at Christmas time. You're somewhat surrounded by hopefully you're surrounded by friends or family, and hopefully by some people that you love. Sometimes the two sometimes you're forced to be around people that you're not exactly fond of around the holiday season. But I talk about all the time when in love, finding connection, when we start focusing on everything we don't have versus focusing on everything we do have. When we're focusing in a state of lack, we seem to attract that type of energy into our lives, and we seem to grab on to the first thing that comes our way because we're in this constant state of lack of what I don't have.
Mhm.
And what I have done for myself, I have a New Year's tradition that I do every year where I will sit with my journal and I will go, okay. And whether or not, I know there are people that are anti-journal and pro-journal, this is for everyone. Like this, just take a piece of paper, okay? That's all you need. Just take a piece of paper
Make
and
it
you write
simple.
down 10 things that you accomplished this past year. So these are 10 things that I did. So this isn't necessarily New Year's resolutions. This is, okay, these are 10 things that I have overcome this year. These are 10 struggles that I have faced and have been able to work through. These are 10 things in my life. Like start with 10 and then try to go from there. So when we're starting the new year, we're not thinking about everything I didn't do this year. We're focusing on everything that I did do this year and the things that I did do for myself. And then make a list of everything that you would love to do, not resolutions, but realistic things. Okay, these are 10 things that I would love to do for myself this year. And then what ends up happening is that the following year, you go back to those same lists. And what I'll do this year is I'll go back to last year's list and I'll mark off all of the things that I was able to accomplish. And whatever I didn't accomplish, I'll just, if they're important to me, because sometimes they're not. Sometimes you think
Right.
these things are super important to you and you realize, no, not so much. So you can just cross those things off and then move into the new year. So it starts not, you go into the new year, yes, I have goals, but you also go into the new year saying to yourself, look at all of this stuff that I did. And
Mhm.
these are all that, and especially if you're single, thinking of new ways that you can bring more romance into your own life instead of
Mhm.
relying on other people to do that for you. Like, what are things that I can do so that I can be the main character of my own story?
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
That's
Mm.
excellent. Yeah. So you're
Yeah.
taking on, this new year with, hey, I was the hero last year. Let's see what I can
That's
get
right.
going this year and, give myself the attaboys and the way to go. Yeah, that's pretty
Yeah.
good.
And if you
I
focus
like
on
it.
everything that you do have, then when it comes to a partner, you're not looking to that other partner to fulfill a void that you don't have
Mhm.
in your life. You're not looking to a partner to entertain you. You're not looking to a partner to finally do these things that you've always wanted to do on your list. That you just go and do the damn thing yourself, right? And you're
Yeah,
creating this life of joy and fulfillment so that that type of energy and love is more attracted because they're that type of person, right? So that, it's to me is it's like the secret formula of really finding somebody who it's not that you're there to complete each other, it's that you're there to enhance each other and to bring joy
absolutely.
to one another's lives, not it's your job to entertain me or it's your job to make me happy. So it's our job to make ourselves happy. Yeah.
Mhm.
Mhm.
I think of it
Yeah.
as we're there to complement each other.
That's
Just
right. Yes.
enhances. Yeah.
Yeah.
So do you find with your clients that that message is easily received?
No.
Yeah.
I love
Yeah.
it. Yeah. Let's hear about that.
No. Especially in matchmaking, right? Matchmaking, it's the problem must be that it's just the wrong person, right? So people love to think I'm in the wrong city. I'm just not, there's only this type of person that's available. So people
Mhm.
love to, matchmaking say to themselves, well, the solution just missed. I might not, I just don't pick well for myself. But there's a reason for that, right? There's a reason
Right.
why you're not selecting well for yourself. And when I tell people that especially when, and I don't know if you guys are, I don't know if you do this in your matchmaking business, but when people really want, like, it's a must that they must have the same common interests. And I'm like, no, it's not.
Yeah.
No, you don't
Reality check.
have to have a common interest. You have to be open to experience. Yes.
Absolutely.
Open to
Mhm.
experience, to try new things. Absolutely. But to have somebody who has the same common interests as you, yeah, it's a talking point. It's a great way to start conversation, but it's not a must for compatibility. And so when I sit down with my clients where I'm like, okay, especially when you go to like help them even with online dating, what are your interests? What are your hobbies? What are the things that you're doing for yourself? And
Mhm.
a lot of these people don't have any of that. Like, a lot of people say that they love to travel, but they've never left the state. A lot of people love to say, you know, um, I love to meet new people, but they find themselves, they're a very introverted individual that even just going and doing something on their own, by themselves paralyzes them, right? There's like, it's really interesting. We have this like idea in our heads of who we are from the outside in, but when it
Mhm.
comes to it, as matchmakers and as coaches, it's our job to really get to know the client because we're trying to work in their best interest. And so part of that is where I'm like, where's the joy that you're bringing to yourself? Like, what are you doing yourself to enhance your own life, to make sure that you are, um, you know, being able to bring that as much love as you can to you. And sometimes I'll sit down with my clients and go, let's list 10 things that bring you joy. And so many people even struggle with just
Mhm.
that, of just being like, what do you mean? What are 10 things that bring me joy? I'm like, what are 10 things you've always wanted to do? Like, that maybe like you've been waiting to have a partner, right? Well, I'll do this thing when I'm in a relationship. I'll take that cruise when I'm in a relationship. I will
Right.
go to the Bahamas when I'm in a relationship. And I'm like, what? Do that now. Like, I'm always
Right.
like,
Date
before, like,
yourself.
yes. And it's so cliche. It's so cliche. And that's why, like, every time someone's like, yeah, I know, love yourself first. I'm like, mm-hmm.
Mhm. It really is where it starts, right?
Mm-hmm.
I
Yeah,
also find that plenty of people don't really have many interests.
they
And
don't.
it
They don't.
makes it hard when you're trying to
Yeah.
connect with someone else and even find similar interests, commonalities, if you don't have interests yourself.
Isn't that
Yeah.
crazy? That
Yeah.
there is a population of people that kind of live a very kind of routine life.
Mm-hmm.
And not to say that it's right or wrong, it just is what it is, right? So
Right.
how do you help those people expand outside of their box? And then I want to hear more about your model and how you do what you do after that. Okay.
Yeah. So to me, it's almost, starting with, okay, so let's do something like what I always say, okay, let's talk. If you don't know what your interests are or where to even begin, I go, and I know this sounds hokey, but I go back to high school, right? In high school, we're just like walking little, like we don't, life hasn't hit us. We're
Mhm.
not like out there having to pay bills. And I mean, I don't know, some people unfortunately have had to have that life, but when we go back to high school, what were your interests in high school? And I know this sounds ridiculous, but it's like, was it playing a music instrument? Was it singing? Was it athletics? Was it, go back to when you didn't have all this life thrown at you? And what did you do back then? Okay, well, if it was like, if you were a huge athlete, okay, great. So you don't play sports now, but where can we find somewhere that you're moving your body that's bringing you joy? I mean, pickleball, we all know, is kind of like a huge thing that's happening around everywhere, right? So we've got pickleball, we've got, rec, parks and rec that's always doing stuff for adults. There's like adult, like dodgeball, there's like adult, like all these different, like just starting with that one little piece and being like, okay, this was kind of piece of who you are back then. What can we do now as an adult? Because there's still a part of you that probably really enjoys that.
Mhm.
Choir. Okay, great. You love to sing. There's local theater, there's local choir, just getting yourself out there so that when you walk into a situation like that, it's not so intimidating because while you're there, it's going to bring you joy and you're going to get something out of it versus like joining things just to meet people of the opposite sex, even though I think that, or just to meet a mate, basically, right? So if you're going to join something just to meet a mate, if you're not having fun in the process,
You'll always be disappointed. You'll
Mhm.
always be disappointed. Yeah.
yes. Yeah.
Yeah. I
So
always say,
basically start there. Yeah.
yeah, it's best to like join a group where you're wanting
Yeah.
to learn something new, right? And then just in that process, you end up
Mhm.
interacting with other people, you're feeling good, you're learning something, you're becoming effective at something, and you meet
Right.
somebody else that's there that seems interesting, that has a similar interest as you.
That's right.
And you
Or
never know where those connections will come from, right? It could be the person that you met at that group that introduced you to the friend of a friend.
absolutely.
Right.
Yeah. A
I
reason and a
mean,
season. Yeah.
I always say this at my speed dating events. I mean, yes, is that the ultimate income is to, or, outcome is to find someone that you connect with? Absolutely.
Mhm.
But you are putting yourself in a room with other like-minded people who are in the same stage of life as you, right? Where you're single, you're all looking. So you know that the intent is there, and you might not walk out with a potential connection, but man, you'll make some friends in the process, because that's super hard too as an adult, is to make friends. Oh my gosh. People struggle with that so badly that when you go to a speed dating event, instead of going in with the intent of like, oh, I better walk out, with someone, going into a speed dating event and saying, I'm going to be hanging out with other women or other men that are just like me. And that, what are you doing after this? Do you want to go out to the bar? Do you want to go out dancing? I mean, to me, that's, to your point, you never know.
Mm-mm.
As long as you're open to connection, the possibilities are endless, truly.
Also, at a bare minimum, to just learn about yourself. Go into an
Yes.
environment that's not familiar, that maybe is a little uncomfortable. What comes up for you? How do you handle it?
Push
Maybe the
yourself.
takeaway is how you could have handled it better as you
Right.
self-reflect. Just like
Yes.
there's all these opportunities right there at
Yeah.
our fingertips. If we
I
just,
know.
right, take a moment to think about it. Yeah.
Yeah.
And say yes. Say yes to the opportunity that presents itself instead of no. We're so good at saying no.
It's
So good.
easy. It's the cop out, right?
It is the cop out.
So Kat,
Yeah.
how do you do what you do? Denise, really, I want to know too, but I'm happy Denise asked that question. Yeah.
Yeah. So so my work is that I was a coach first, right? So I started with a coaching background. So the work that I started off as a women's empowerment coach. So started there and kind of have just eventually found my way here. And so with the coach first and then matchmaker second, it was really important for me to stay to my roots, which is, the goal, even if it's matchmaking, the whole goal, like what you said, Dr. Frankie, which is you need to get to know yourself. Like, I know you think you know you, but let's have these conversations and try to get to know you first, so that I know as a matchmaker that I'm working in your best interest. You may not think that at times, but
But you are.
I will circle back to these conversations and being like, remember we said this, remember we said that these are the things that are really better, better for you. And the definition of insanity is when you do the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. So let's try
Mm-hmm.
to break the pattern. And part of breaking the pattern is knowing who you are. And so what I do when people first come to me is I give them a series. I have like 7 different tests that I give to them, because I don't know them really. And I know that other matchmakers are all about get them on a date as fast as possible. And that's totally fine. Like, I respect everybody and their methods, and everyone is doing what's best for themselves as a matchmaker and what feels good to them. So for my work, it's a little bit slower. Like, you gotta be patient working, when we work together. So for the first month, it's all about getting to know you. So it's putting you through a series of tests, talking about those tests, understanding. And a lot of it too is confirmation and affirmation, because I think that singles think that they're broken, which I hate that word. No one's broke. You're not broken. It's just that there's a lot of life that's been thrown at you, and we haven't been given the necessary skill set and tools to be able to process that, right? That's for, even if you have, I mean, I always say we're all a work in progress. I mean, there's still some
sure.
things that pop up, right? And you're just like, whoa, wait a minute.
What just happened? Yeah.
Why did I react that way? That was weird. So
Mhm.
yeah, we're all work in progress. But so it gives me an opportunity to sit them down and go, these are the reasons, this from what I'm seeing, like these are things that this is a pattern. And then like you could tell with the overlap of the tests where it's like, because it is self-reporting, right? So you just kind of collect the data because it's how people perceive themselves. So you still are just like, okay, this might not be the actual truth, whatever that is, but it starts the conversation of who they are as a person and possibly ways that they get in their own way when it comes to finding love and connection, and having an open conversation about that, and really kind of fine tuning and kind of starting to, say to ourselves, okay, this is who you are, and we feel it's in your best interest to have somebody who fits this kind of, this type of person. um and so we have all of those conversations, and then from that point, then I start searching, and I start looking for potential matches, and then once I find someone of interest, then they are tested. So I put the match through a series of tests to see the
Absolutely.
compatibility factors,
Mhm.
because I don't know these people. I mean, yes, you can go off of intuition, but man, sometimes that intuition, it's like when I go on that first date, I'm like, I have no idea.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a
Sometimes it's
process.
It's
sometimes
such
it's
a
that.
process. Yeah.
It's a process.
So, because I always tell them, I'm like, I'm not here to find you a hot first date, even though those are fun too, don't get me wrong. But I'm here to help you find like the longevity, right? Does this possible connection have the formula for a long-term relationship?
Mhm.
Um, so by testing their match, so then I test their match, and then their match is also given an hour interview, because it's not just about what my client wants, it's also about the match. I need to make sure that my client fits their criteria. That's right. And sometimes they don't. Sometimes they'll just, and then it's so funny because then the match will be like, well, wait a minute. Maybe can I go back? And I'm like, no, you said what you said, right? Like
Can I
I have a
change that
client.
answer?
Yeah, that's right. Like I have a client right now who, it's a very unusual circumstance, but he's a farmer. I'm in Iowa. He's a farmer and owns a business, very successful farmer, but has custody of 5 children. He has full custody. And it
Wow.
takes, so I had a woman who was like, nope, not dating a man with small kids. And I was like, well, my client has small kids. And she's like, well, can I talk to you about that? And I'm like, well, wait a minute. You just
That's
said that was
right.
your deal breaker. You
That's right.
said that, you can't date anybody with small children. But I think it's I mean, this is where it's like, where as us as matchmakers, right? Where when people go, wait, then we can very openly have that conversation with them and being like, well, what did you mean? Like, let's talk about that. Like that's, so it's, I feel like this work isn't just about matching my clients, but it's also all these touch points with their matches, where it's like, no matter what, when you enter in this door, or whether you're on Zoom, you're going to learn something about yourself, hands
Mhm.
down. Whether you're the match or whether you're the client, you're going to
Mhm.
learn something. So after that interview, if all of it aligns, then of course background checks. And if all of those aligned, because sometimes those don't either. Once those are done, then yeah, then I set up the date. And the date is, so am I talking too much? I have a tendency to ramble on
No,
quite a bit.
no,
Okay,
no,
so
no.
so it's funny because so people in my business, they want me to make bracelets that say WWCD, what would Cat do, or what would Cat say? So like I have these Cat's commandments is what I call them in my business, where so I find a match, we're good, everyone's checked to go. I set up the date. Now the date is purely blind. They don't know what each other looks like, and they know very minimal information Oh, you're giving me a thumbs up. I love that.
That's how we
right.
do it
Very
too.
minimal
That's how we do
information.
it.
Oh, good. Yes, yes. Very minimal information because it's exciting. It's like a true like blind date. Like, and it gives them an opportunity to they let them get to know one another, right? Like I've given them enough information. But before they have that, I have a meeting with each one of them and we go over Cat's commandments where it's like, these are the rules. Like these are the expectations.
Mhm.
These are the things that you need to do to have a successful first date. So I'm not only coaching my match, but or the client, but also the match. The match also benefits from this. So then after the date, we
Wait,
have a
hold
post.
on, Cat.
Yeah.
Are you going to share the cat's commandments, or do we
Oh,
have to be a
you,
client?
yeah. There's actually
I
10 of
passed the
them.
cat's.
Yeah.
All right, let's hear it. I'm
Let's.
curious.
So if I can remember all of them, yeah, so
Just give us
it's
maybe
some
4 or
of it,
5.
yeah, so some of them are, you know, like no-brainers, right? But I always tell each one of them, I'm always like, you're both representing my company. The match is representing my company, and so is the client. And I need to make sure that both of you know my expectations and make sure that, you know, that you abide by the rules. Because if you don't, then I can not match you again, right? I kind of like I'm a little mom in this, I know, but it's okay.
Have to be.
So
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So I have this thing where I call the 3 Ps, which is when you go on a date. So the first P is to be personable. So be curious, right? So be personable, be curious. Don't talk about facts, talk about stories. So that's the first P. The second P is no past. So no past relationships, no past dating horror stories, no none of that. And the third is to be present. So to put the phone away, to be there, be in the moment, be present with what's going on, then, you know, there at the table. Um, so that's one commandment. You know, it's to be on time, to dress like you care. Man, what is going on with people with that?
I don't get
There's
it.
this thing,
I
and I'm dating myself, but remember we used to say what you see is what you get, WYSIWYG. There's this thing that people have in their head is if they like me like this, they'll like me all the time. Well, I
mm-mm.
want to tell you that no one likes your shirt hanging out from your pants. You haven't showered. You look like no, no one likes that.
Well, it
So
doesn't look
you,
like you cared, right? Like
it
that you
doesn't
put in the
exactly.
effort. When one person puts in the effort and the time and the intention, and the other one shows up with like tennis shoes and shorts and a ripped t-shirt, no bueno.
No,
No
bueno.
bueno.
Yeah,
No.
Yeah,
agreed.
you know, I tell them that it's, you know, because I get this sometimes too because you know, with my clients, I'll get their hair and makeup done and we'll do photo shoots and stuff. And women will be like, well, I don't wear makeup. And I'm like, I understand that, but we want to accentuate your beautiful face on camera. And the way that you do that is through makeup. And you're not it's not false advertising. We are just accentuating what's already there. And when it comes to what you wear on a date, that person who's sitting across the table from you wants to know that you take care of yourself. Like,
Mhm.
because our partners, whether you like it or not, our partners are a representation of who we are as people, right? So
Absolutely.
my husband is a representation of me and I'm a representation of him, right? So if you're showing up half-ass, you're subconsciously telling the other person that you don't care about yourself. Like whether you like it or not, you're telling the other person you don't care about yourself. And you
Mhm.
could be the most confident, you know, CEO, whatever. But if you don't put forth an effort, because you're not doing it for them. You need to do it for yourself. Like you've got to do it for you so that the other person knows that you know how to take care of yourself. I mean, I
Mhm.
have a saying, it's like, don't walk in like you just went to Home Depot. Like, come on.
Yeah.
Yes.
Seriously.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
What else? What other ones you got?
So let's see. Um,
What
oh,
about sex?
the common was what's that?
What
Did you
about
say
sex?
sex? I
No,
Yeah,
don't, you
when
know
sex.
she
what?
was doing those peas, to tell you, I didn't know what those peas were going to
Uh,
be.
yeah.
Like,
Like anything about sex,
Yeah.
anything about alcohol consumption?
So I have a 2 hour max on my dates. That's it. So 2 hour maximum.
First date.
First date,
Or-
2 hour
or-
However
max.
much you can
Okay.
throw back on the first date is acceptable within 2 hours. No, I'm joking.
I would say I do a lot of coffee dates actually
Okay.
here. On occasion we'll do a beating at the bar, but like it's usually just a casual encounter. So it's usually at a bar, it's usually at a coffee shop, or like even just going for a stroll, something like that.
An
No,
icebreaker date.
absolutely. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. I think drinking's okay, but no, yeah, no slamming down drinks. I think a drink is okay. I think two is probably pushing it, quite honestly, in that time. Sex, I think it depends, because I do say no sex, to not talk about sex, because it is a heavier topic. um to leave it, because the like you said, Denise, it's that first date is more of an introduction of just, is there a connection? Like,
That's right.
can we connect? And then the second date, you can talk about the more heavier topics on the second date. You can talk about those things where, are we aligned? Are we on the same page when it comes to these kinds of things? And that goes true with politics, even though sometimes that could be polarizing.
Yeah.
I've already done my due diligence on that,
You
I was-
on whether
screen
or not
them.
they're compatible. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
was talking about, I'm not even talking about sex. I'm saying having sex.
Having sex.
Oh, having sex. Oh, well, yeah, since I have a 2 hour max, probably. Yeah,
Yeah, you nipped that in the bud.
I did.
They can engage.
Make it
Well,
quick. Hi,
yeah,
you're
that's
hot. Now we have, an hour and 45 minutes.
That's right.
No.
We're joking,
That's right.
audience. We're
Yeah.
joking.
Joking. Yeah.
Yeah.
I ask that because sometimes clients will say, well, like, I don't know if you've ever had this where a client and a catch will lie and they'll act like that didn't happen. And they actually did
Oh,
have sex on the first date.
Mhm.
And they're like kids. They act like children. They're hiding it because they feel like they're going to get in trouble by
Right.
Big Mama,
right, right.
And then of course, eventually it comes out. And
That's
the
right.
argument, they say, well, what's the problem with us just having, if we feel it and it feels natural and
We're adults.
yes, yeah. And I kind of feel old school in that way. Like, I just feel like, why let all of those chemicals,
What's the rush?
like why rush and also have those chemicals secreted in our brains that make it more confusing?
That's right.
Oxytocin, serotonin, norepinephrine,
Yep.
all that stuff that just muddies the waters. Like, yeah.
No, it does. Yeah, I have a 5 date rule when it comes to sex. I mean, that's kind of, I figure by
5
5
days.
dates, you would
Oh,
know
5
each
dates.
other.
5 dates. I
Yeah.
thought she said 5. I thought you said 5 days. I was like,
Oh
I
no,
thought
5 dates. Well, that could be 5 days, I guess.
it
But
could
yeah,
be
5
5 days
dates.
too.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
fair. I think that's
because what you said is that it does confuse once you start sex, forget it. Like the
Changes.
relationship, it
It could go either
completely,
way,
it
right?
can go either way. That's right. That's
Yeah.
right. And so like the
But
longer that you can kind of get to know the person to find these other compatibility pillars and make sure that those things are aligned, I just feel like you're setting yourself up for success more so before
exactly.
starting sex on the first date.
Also, there's something to be said for just delaying and feeling that
Yes.
like excitement
that
and
tension.
the tension escalating and
Yes.
yeah, it's just delayed gratification is quite rewarding.
Absolutely.
Yes,
Agreed.
it is. Yeah, and I, even after the first date, I ask them to no phone number exchanges.
Really?
Because I hate texting. I think texting destroys a lot
Yeah.
in the early stages of dating. And so if they both have in their post-date interview, if they both enjoy their date, then I will set up a second. Now, after that second date, usually it makes or break it at that point. Like after that second date, what I've experienced is that if it's a no, it's going to be a no, and no personal information has been exchanged, and it's over. But if it
Queen.
is a good connection, then it's most likely to succeed at that point once they exchange phone numbers after that second date and then they move forward. So yeah, I find that it's better for, I mean, just for, I feel like it just kind of helps overcome that obstacle of the early stages of texting and can possibly, I mean, especially as matchmakers, right? Like we've put so much work into those matches where it's just like, they're like, please don't,
Oh,
please
mess this up.
don't mess this up. Yeah. Cause I've had that happen, but that's why there's that rule there. I've had that exactly happen where they have a great first date. And before I even do that post date call, they've already blown it up over the weekend
Yeah.
via text. Yeah.
So our rule is that they actually can't connect until after their first date. Like
Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah.
right. We do the introduction. They have each other's contact information in case they can't find each other for some reason at the venue
Sure.
or someone's running late. But there's no texting or calling beforehand because they inevitably say something silly,
Send something inappropriate.
yeah,
Yeah.
or are
There's that.
awkward on the phone. And then the
Yes.
whole thing gets
Yes.
blown up. Yeah. So like for those who are listening, just keep communication to a minimum, even if you're doing the dating
Yeah.
apps, you're not working with a matchmaker, right?
Yes.
Just like find a way to quickly get to a date in person and minimize
And then
the
just be
interaction.
done.
And
Yeah.
be done
Until
with
you
it.
see them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but you know, you do have people that are so anxious that they can't.
I know.
And I think one of your podcasts was about this, the anxious attachment person. They can't
Yeah.
wait to,
No.
yeah. So how do you help them navigate through that urge? Because it's powerful for them. They can't help themselves.
No, I think understanding why they do it, right? So them having that awareness, okay, this is a false sense of intimacy. This is not real. Like you think that you're building something real, it's not real. This isn't real. Like once you start to get to know the person, then you can openly communicate what your needs are in that relationship as far as like how often you text, how often you need to hear from them. But right now, whatever texting or anything you're doing, you're building a false sense of intimacy with somebody that it's like a complete stranger. It's not. And then two, when you're more anxious and you start to like communicate all these deep, dark feelings or things that are happening in your life and I'm like, but this is a stranger. Like
You
what
don't know
are you,
them. Yeah.
what are you doing? Like
What are
this
you
is, you
doing?
don't even know this
And the
person and you're,
exposure, right? On the other side, when you
yes,
realize you meet them and you're like, oh my gosh, this is not what I
no,
thought. My mind made up something that isn't actually real. And now I've overly exposed myself.
That's right.
that's right. Yep. That's exactly right. And that they have, and I always tell them, I'm like, you always know your anxious attachment when they say, I'm an open book. And you're like, okay,
Oh,
I know who you are. I don't need to give you a test. I know exactly who you are. So to me, it's teaching them where I'm like, I know that's really easy for you to be open. I know it's really easy for you to be vulnerable, but I want the other person to earn that vulnerability from you. Like share a little bit, but make them earn that. Make them show up for you so that you slowly, continuously open yourself up. Like don't, and then two, when we overshare, it makes that other person so uncomfortable to the point that sometimes, and I know it kind of goes back to what you were saying, Denise, about, well, this is just who I am, like take it or leave it. And I'm like, no, 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 no.
how's that
There's,
working
So
for you? How's
how
that
do you,
yeah,
worked for you?
how does
Yeah.
one know if they're an oversharer? I mean, it's a nuance to
it
know.
is a nuance. Yeah.
So how would
I,
you put words to that? Yeah.
I would say to me, I mean, I think that's why the cat's commandments come into play, where it's like not talking about exes, not talking about previous relationships, your dating history, like that kind of information is kind of, your body count, like that kind of stuff.
Or
Just
trauma,
wait.
right?
The
Sexual
trauma,
trauma,
that's right. If
physical
it,
pain,
that's right. Physical pain.
It's a good one. Yeah.
I
religion,
think, what's that?
religion,
Yes.
spirituality, religion.
Spirituality, yep, religion, money, like how much, talking about money, um, things that, I mean, it's is as if, and I think it's also paying attention to how your body feels, right? So if we feel ourselves being a little anxious, like it feels, we feel a little bit uncomfortable as we're sharing information, or maybe it's the opposite where we're feeling extremely elated to share that because we are in this like desperate need of connection and wanting to build intimacy with somebody. I think it's just really paying attention to the cues of the person's reaction across the table. Because even myself, like sometimes, I mean, I'm a recovering anxious attachment. Whew, it's taken me a lot of work, but I can even tell that when I start to say something, I go, okay. I can like pick up on the cues and I go,
Yeah.
okay, we're good.
You
I'm
reel
just going to
you
keep
reel
that over
yourself
here.
back in.
I
Yeah.
reel myself back in. That's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not easy though. It's a lot of
No, it's a
practice.
lot of work. It's a lot of work. And that's when the coaching
Yeah.
comes in. Yeah.
That's right.
You know.
That's right.
Yeah.
But these are
Yeah.
really helpful, concrete tips. I think that people can really incorporate.
Mhm.
Awesome. Yeah.
Yeah. So really quick, I know we have a few more minutes. Where do you focus on working with everybody across the US? Give us an idea of who you work with
Yeah.
specifically, if there's any specialization, that kind of thing.
So, yes, I love helping everybody. That's my problem. No, so it's not really a problem, but like, I wish
For
I
one
could.
person.
So, yeah, exactly. So matchmaking is just here in my state just because it's I'm so hands-on with it and
Mhm.
I need to see people in the flesh. It just makes me feel better. So I feel like with matchmaking, it'll be just here in my state. With coaching and image consulting, that's international. That's one of the greatest things about TikTok is that it's great. It's brought some great clients to me for dating coaching. And also with image consulting, I actually go to the client sometimes and help them, jump into their life for a weekend and kind of
So
swish
much
things
fun.
around and then
Yeah.
come back out, which is one of my, I love to do that. And it's so yeah, I mean, I help people, just kind of depends on where you live. And then if I can't help you, I will absolutely find people that can. So yeah.
Nice. Perfect.
Yeah.
And are there other kind of, when you say that, what are people what are your team, your support team that you can refer to? What would you mean other coaches? Are they stylists
Yes.
or?
No, usually other matchmakers. So
Ah,
people
okay.
will inquire for matchmaking and I'd be like, I can't help you, but I mean, that's what the alliance is so great for, right?
Yes.
Making all these great
Mhm.
connections with other matchmakers that I know that can help them. Or if people do want coaching of somebody in their state or an office that they want to go to and they don't want to do it via Zoom, I can find other coaches or maybe coaches that aren't as expensive, right? And have other resources.
Yes. Yeah.
I'm all about the person. I know that I'm not for everybody, and that's okay, but I still will do my damnedest to try to find somebody that can help you. So,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's
Yeah.
awesome. And just to say, just for those listeners who aren't familiar with the Alliance is basically an organization of matchmakers. There's about 100 of us, right? That are
Yeah, yeah,
connected, and
yeah.
we work together, we collaborate. It expands our network. We're able to match our clients more easily and effectively. And then we can refer, if we're not the right matchmaker for you, we can refer you to somebody
Yes,
who is.
that's
So Kat,
exactly right.
how can people find you?
Oh gosh. Okay. So you can find my podcast, which is called Dear Matchmaker. You can find it on all your streaming platforms. You can find me on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok at Cat Cantrill. And then my website, I have two websites, which are theheartagency.com and dressedforlove.com.
Love it.
Dressforlove.com. Yay. I love that.
Yeah.
Kat, thank you for coming on
Thank
and
you.
sharing
No,
all
thank
of your
you.
wisdom. So much good stuff.
Yes, thank
Yay.
you so much.
Appreciate you.
It's such an honor. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
All right, everyone. Thanks for tuning in, and we will see you next week.
Bye
Kisses,
for now.
hugs.
Bye.
Bye.